All right, everyone, welcome back to From the Stands. Alex Goldman and Josh Beatar here. Today we are very luckily joined by a very rising prospect in Australian MMA, Matt Myers. So, Matt, thank you so much for joining us today, man. Look, I want to get straight into it, and really, the first question I have for you is: can you walk me through sort of your introduction to mixed martial arts? How did you first become involved in the sport?
Yep. So I was about 17, and I just moved here, Melbourne. I moved from New Zealand. Pretty lost. Didn't really have any friends, and I was looking for a fresh start coming over here. Started getting into a little bit of trouble and was kind of heading the wrong way. And then my mum found our gym, Adrenaline MMA, by Chris, my head coach. He visited the doctor's clinic that my mum was a receptionist at, and he had this huge cut over his eye, like massive cut. And being a bulk billing clinic, in Australia, you're used to dealing with junkies.
Yeah.
Just like, there's some unsavory people that come looking dude, but he was super respectful, super calm, super polite to my mum. And he had this huge gash on his face. And my mum just thought, like, that's the kind of man that my son should be around. Started it off, I think it was like my mum paid for my first 2 months, I think, at the gym. And then after that, I had to kind of sort that out myself. So it really got me on my feet. It got me working. It got me involved in some better people and around some better people. And I've been here ever since.
Yeah, definitely. Matt, look, man, this upcoming fight, Eternal 78, your first title defense. Obviously, it's your first fight this year. You haven't fought since December of 2022. How frustrating has it been not being able to sort of get a fight this year? And sort of, is there a reason we haven't seen you back competing this year yet?
So, yeah, I had a few niggling injuries. Like 2022, I had, I think I had 4 pullouts in 2022. So 4 fights fell through. I could be wrong on that. It might be 3 or 5.
I believe it was 4, yeah.
Yeah, beauty. So I was like, that's 4 fight camps without a fight in a relatively short space. And then even before that, I was, after my last fight in September, I fought on Coastal Combat in 2021, April. And we'd been trying to book a fight then. And, going through COVID and lockdowns and stuff, that proved to be quite difficult. So I'd just been putting a lot of wear and tear on my body over the years. And I had a few niggling injuries that I kind of needed to sort out. So that was part of the reason. And then the other part was just guys, and obviously everyone's making a run at this. Everyone's got their plans and their aspirations and their dreams. I don't believe that any of these guys are scared to fight. I just think that if there's an easier route, they'll take that route, which to me, it makes some sort of sense, but I don't think it's the way to do it. Morally, I don't think it's the way to do it. But yeah, it was literally just injuries and a few guys that are waiting on contracts, really.
For sure. So, Matt, I wanted to know, and you kind of touched on it a little bit earlier there, your background with how you kind of found, your gym Adrenaline. But I wanted to know, what is it about the gym that makes it the perfect spot for you as a mixed martial artist? As, in today's environment, especially now, we're seeing so many mixed martial arts gyms, pop up everywhere. So, the options are endless. But for you, what is it that Adrenaline offers? Is it the mat culture? Is it the coaching? What is it for you that makes it the perfect home?
Oh, mate, without a doubt, the coaching. Like, I'm coached by a 5-time Olympic wrestler in Chris Brown. I think he won 17 Australian titles, beat Henzo Gracie at 80cc. I think he was a white belt when he beat him too. Like, wow. Just a beast. Like, went to his first Olympics when he was 17.
Wow.
Just a monster of a human being. And I'm lucky enough to be coached by him. So I kind of just stumbled into the right place. The environment's awesome. It's very old school martial arts, so there's a lot of respect, and there's a really strict hierarchy. You know, coach always being at the top, and I love that environment. I love the environment where like you get brought down a notch if you're a little bit too cocky in here.
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
I love that environment. And I feel like a lot of martial arts gyms nowadays have kind of lost that
I agree.
culture where it's like
you don't get dumped into
more
surviving anymore. You kind of get brought up slowly, rather than, I don't know, at least for me, my first 6 months in the gym was survive, get the crap beat out of me every day.
Yeah, man, that's the way I think it should be, and it's addictive. Like that I think is one of the best feelings ever. You know, it's just getting absolutely schooled and then coming back and trying to figure out what happened. You know, everyone's got these preconceived ideas of what it's going to be like their first time in the martial arts gym, and it usually goes the worst way. You know.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Matt, something I want to know, obviously, Eternal 78, obviously, it's a weekend of UFC 293, and the UFC brass will obviously be in town for that event, and the Eternal 78 event. You know, I can imagine you'll be looking to show out at that event. It's a very, you know, anticipated event, I believe. And what kind of performance are you looking to put on come September 8th with Brogan Anderson? Is it somewhat of a grueling fight where you think you can drag him out, show your full arsenal? Are you looking to get him out there early and show how strong you are in your striking, etc.? What sort of are you looking at in terms of this fight and sort of how you want it to play out in your mind?
I do Wildy run straight in my first, but I'm looking for cage time as well. I haven't had that many fights, and I've kind of been stunted with COVID and the like. So I'm obviously looking to come and show out, and I want to show them all. I think could get a shot, you know, and it's just whoever turns up on the night and performs the best. So it's going to G us up, definitely. Like having all those guys cage side is going to be awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, for sure. So, Matt, you know, I want to sort of take you back to when COVID in Australia was kind of, you know, was kind of at its peak, and, you know, the future, I mean, for everyone was kind of a bit uncertain, but specifically for mixed martial arts and sports, you know, it was really kind of up in the wind, you know, unless you're rugby and you want 50,000 people at a stadium, then it's okay. But, you know, at that point, you know, the future for Australian mixed martial arts was kind of all over the place. During that period, did you, you know, maybe have periods where you were like, I may not be able to, you know, make a career in this sport anymore just because of, you know, circumstances in the world, not because of anything in your control? And, you know, how did you sort of maybe navigate, you know, through COVID, you know, I guess believing that at a point you can return to the sport, you know, return back to what you love to do? Can you just kind of, you know, talk us through that period during COVID?
Yeah, definitely had that doubt that I'd be able to make this a career. Definitely had that doubt. Really hard. We were training. We were lucky enough to, you know, be training pretty consistently. Like we kind of found loopholes around that with the professional athletes exemption. But it was rough. Like it was a big period of uncertainty. I didn't really know what was going to happen and how it was all going to turn out. Like, you know, from the start, I knew I wouldn't be fighting for the rest of the year. So I've already lost a year. Yeah, it sucked. You know, it was horrible. I mean, it was horrible for everyone, but in particular, I think, you know, athletes and small business owners. Like, I'm quite close with Chris, and at the time he was, you know, the owner of the business. So really, really stressful time. Didn't know what was going to happen to the gym. Didn't know what was going to happen with my career. Like, I had no idea what was going on. So it was scary. A lot of uncertainty in the air, and we definitely felt it.
Yeah, definitely. Look, Matt, you know, when you won that Eternal middleweight title late last year, you beat a guy, you know, that you had previously lost to only a few months prior. So for you, and I rewatched that video of the finishing sequence when you beat John, late last year, and the elation you could see on your face and how happy you were. You could really tell the emotion and how much it meant to you. So, what was it like beating a guy that had only just beaten you a few months prior, coming out, finishing him, and then claiming the title in such a prestigious organization within Australia that when you become champion, I feel like in Eternal, you really start to get recognized by promotions like the UFC and these other promotions, bigger promotions. What was that feeling like?
Oh, it was unreal. It was it was like all my mates take the piss out of me for it. They were like, "Mate, you look like you're about to cry." But it was big because just of the journey. Like
Yep.
I've been at this now for 10 years,
Mm.
and coming from where I started, and the kind of person I was when I started, and yeah, it was just crazy to think like, oh wow, like I've
Yeah.
actually done something
Mm.
with this. And yeah, it was like I'm just some kid from a small town in New Zealand, and I've come over here and beat a guy, and John, who I think the world of. I mean, he's a weapon. Like
Mm. Mm.
that first fight was. I don't really get too nervous for fights, but I remember that first fight being like, holy shit, maybe I've been off a bit too much here, but
Mm.
I'll jump, I'll just give it a crack.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
it was good to get that finish. It was awesome. We drilled that spinning back kick to death, like over COVID. Like, I almost got sick of drilling it. I was
Yeah.
over it, overthrowing it.
Yeah.
So it was just cool to see all our hard work come to fruition and get that belt.
Yep.
Definitely. Well, look, Matt, couple last questions from us. Last one from me anyway today is, with so many top tier organizations, post COVID really standing out now, and starting to get deals on, Fight Pass, KO Sports, things like that. Is now the best time to be an up and coming Australian mixed martial artist? As even Australia itself is getting more recognition for being able to produce world class fighters.
Yeah. Sorry, mate, you cut out halfway through
Oh,
there.
that's all good. Yeah. So I was just saying, essentially, is now the best time to be an up and coming Australian mixed martial artist, given that we're starting to get more recognition, on the international stage for
Yeah.
producing world class fighters.
Oh, mate, 100%, 100%. Like, it was almost a dream when I was 21, 22, just because we didn't have anyone really in the UFC, or
Yeah.
we weren't getting signings on our side of the world.
Mm.
So it was like, oh, I think this will happen. Like once they realise what we have over here, this will happen. Innately, Australians, we love fighting. Like,
Yep.
it's like it's in our culture. We love it. You do it as a kid, and especially on our side of the world, like we love it. So, and with rugby and footy and all the other sports, yeah, it's a wicked time to be an up and coming guy. Yeah, I'm grateful, mate. I'm really looking forward to the opportunity.
Definitely, Matt. Look, man. Last question today. Obviously, something I'd like to know is what are your career plans? Obviously, I know you have the fight Eternal 78 on September 8th, and no one's going to look past the fight that they have currently booked. I understand that. But for you long term, what are some goals that you would like to achieve within the sport, and sort of how far are you looking to take it? Obviously, I know the UFC would be a goal of yours. If someone like a PFL who is starting to make their mark in Australia and then around the world, is it these other organisations, One Championship as well, Bellator is obviously out there. If they came along, is that something that you would entertain as well?
Absolutely, but I think I'd entertain them all, but still with the UFC in mind.
Yeah, yeah,
You're seeing a lot of guys now, like I think Michael Venom Page just got signed.
yeah,
Or it's like alleged that he's getting
yeah.
signed.
I think so. Yeah,
AJ McKean, all those guys. So, like, there's a pathway there. And I think specifically for myself in the gym, I think if you're in the UFC, you're putting your business and all your mates, coaches and students at the gym and up and coming fighters at the gym, you're giving them a better position.
yeah,
You're putting them in a better spot where they can actually make something of the sport.
yeah.
So I think the UFC, just being the name it is the ultimate goal. But I mean, I'd entertain PFL and Bellator and any other promotion really. It'd be silly not to. You know,
Yeah.
I can make a few bucks.
Definitely, man.
Why not?
Definitely, 100%. Look, Matt, thank you so much for your time today, man. We very much appreciate it. And obviously, September 8th is going to be a big night for you and a big title defense. But we wish you all the best, man. We can't wait to see you compete. And I really look forward to seeing you put on a performance that's going to show the UFC what you're made of and why you should be in the UFC, man. So thank you very much for your time. And yeah, we'd love to chat to you again in the future, man.
Beautiful, mate. Thank you very much for having me, boys. Thank you
Thank you
No,
very
of
very
much.
much.
course, man. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it,
Have a
man.
good one.
Thank you.